One of the best parts of being an artist and a creator and making music on your own is that you can just follow whatever direction your inspiration will take you. You can just get in this flow state and it just takes you, as if the song is just writing itself. But at some point, if you're trying to release your music commercially, it needs to be associated with other songs that are at least vaguely similar to yours. You're going to have to enter the reference mixing stage.
No. Wait.
If somehow you don't know what that is, it's where you compare your mix to others that are vaguely similar to yours and you try to get them to have at least a similar color. And as soon as you start playing in context of any other art, you're faced with the reality that you have to see your art in context of others, both in how punchy or smooth or bright or dark or dynamic it is. In a perfect world, we can make whatever just flew out of our hearts and put that in a song in whatever context, and people would be able to understand it in that way. But the reality is there's certain factors that make a certain genre, a certain sound, a certain feel. And if you ever want your stuff to be heard by strangers and be understood by strangers, you have to play at least a little bit in context of those. And the typical production step to do this is reference mixing. This is where you check your mix and reference against others that are vaguely similar to yours. And I think a lot of people hate this process because you're forced to see your art not on its own, not on what it is, but in context of another person and another artist and the genre's frame and whatever culture happens to be at this particular moment. So assuming you want to release your music commercially at some point, let me show you this tool that I found. It's called Reference 2 by Mastering the Mix. Let's get into it. So we have our song here, and this is a kind of punchy, cyberpunky kind of feel. Here's the main things that we're gonna wanna reference against. We wanna take some songs that maybe a slight variations around the genre, and then compare them to ours in a couple of different ways. So we have our mastering chain here, and at the end of it, I have this program called Reference. What we're gonna do is you can load in any number of other tracks, which we're going to use as references, and you can pick a specific section and have that section loop behind yours, and it'll compare the EQ curves to yours. Now, this is not super helpful because every song is mastered to a pretty different volume. Let's say if a song had an almost identical EQ curve to yours, but it was way louder, the graphs and the analyzation tools wouldn't be very helpful to you. What this tool does is analyze the LUFS, meaning the loudness of that song and yours, and lowers that track or raises that track so they're about the same level as yours. Then you can compare the color of these two songs at a similar volume, which is what you're gonna need to do. So typically what I do is I focus on the most important part of the song, a chorus or the drop or some sort of motify part. And I'm gonna find that exact same section in another song. In my case, I had this Carpenter Brute song that's vaguely similar to the song I'm trying to make. So what we're gonna do is click reference and then find the section of the song that is a heavy, aggressive, chorusy kind of sound, which happens to be the very beginning of this song. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna analyze our track. So whatever we're playing right now, it'll reference it to that specific looped section of the reference track. So what I wanna do is find the heavy section of our song and compare it to the heavy section of their song. Okay, you actually see that our EQ curves are pretty similar. Mine has a little bit more bass than theirs does. So what you'll see is like this is the EQ recommendation. So basically what you want to do if you wanted to match this perfectly is that you'd actually start cutting this. So this tells you how much you should cut this low end and how much I should boost the high end. The mids are actually pretty similar in this particular case. Now, if you're wondering if you just do this, everything will sound great and it'll sound exactly like the other song, absolutely not. But it gives you an idea of the general color. So if your snare is way louder than theirs in their mix, even if you have the exact same EQ curve, it's gonna change the sound. So this is not a simple, hey, I'll just copy what they have, but it is a good idea if you're trying to get the color of that song to do some gentle curves on that. So what I like to do is after that, take some EQ on my master bus, so that's everything, and try to match this and see what it sounds like. Now, if you're doing any kind of drastic changes on your master bus, it will probably make things sound worse. But you can do some subtle ones and it really can do a lot of fixing. But if you do need to do any drastic changes here, what you're gonna need to do is probably go back into your mix and start tweaking things from there. Because as soon as you start boosting all the high end on your entire mix, it's gonna change the color of it significantly and not necessarily in a useful way. Maybe you'd like the sound of it boosting all the high end on the synths, but if you did it on all the percussion, it could become a really aggressively ear piercing. But this tool also has more stuff than that. You can load in any kind of number of tracks that you want. And so this is a different track that has a bit more bass. It's not quite as aggressive, but it has a lot cleaner low end. And so I want to compare my track to that one. Notice that my EQ curve on the mids in particular is pretty similar, but on both these tracks, the air above 10K, both of them are telling me to boost this. So that's probably a good sign I should start looking to that area. And both of them have a cut and a low end, so I should probably start looking at that section. There's also this other feature that I really like, where you can pick what region you want to listen to, and you can just listen to one set of frequencies on both the reference track and yours. For instance, if I wanted to listen to just the high end of both these tracks, It allows me to really laser in and focus, and so I can hear just the section that I need to be working on. Because if these mids sound really matchy, I'm gonna be distracted by that because it's gonna sound better than it should. But if I can laser in and focus just on that high end that have noticeable differences between the two, then I can really focus on and not be distracted by anything else. And particularly in low end, this is super handy because getting that tight low end and that relationship between the bass and the kick and matching that is something that is really, really useful and can easily be missed if you're listening to the entire mix. I hope that was a quick primer on this plugin. It's called Reference To by Mastering the Mix. I am in zero way associated with them. I paid for this plugin and I would definitely recommend it for most people. And it's like $59 new and it goes on sale once in a while. So I hope this can make a rather miserable part of mixing for me and maybe you a little bit easier. And if nothing else, thanks for your ears and your eyes and your attention. I'm Baby Wolf. Thanks for being here. Go make some art.